girl before.
Wonder, 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 wonder.
I've never seen this kind of girl before.
Wonder, 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 wonder.
Yeah, I knew Laura correct. Yeah,
Wonder, 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 wonder.
yeah, I knew Laura correct. Yeah, I knew.
Wonder, 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 wonder. Oh, oh, oh.
The things you do for me, nobody can do. The miracles you bring my way, even my mind, nothing compared to you. You're wonder in my life. I've never seen this kind girl before.
Wonder, wonder,
Hey,
wonder.
I've never seen this kind girl before. Wonder, 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 wonder. Papa, oh, waiting I don't do. You bless me, my life make better. Oh, what shall I render unto the Lord for all the good things you have done for me? Nothing more, waiting I don't do. You bless me, my life make better. Oh, what shall I render unto the Lord for all the good things you have done? You have done for me. The things you do for me, nobody can do. The miracles you bring my way, even my mind, it led to my way. Nothing compared to you. Your wonder in my life. The things you do for me, nobody can do. The miracles you bring my way, even my mind, to my way. things you can do for me, nobody can do. The miracles you bring my way, they're on my mind, oh, and led to my way. Nothing compared to you. Can be here or see your wonder in my life. The things you can do for me, nobody can do. The miracles you bring my way. See this kind girl before.
Wonder, 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 wonder.
I've never seen this kind girl before.
Wonder, 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 wonder.
Yeah, you look correct. Yeah,
Wonder, wonder, wonder,
yeah, you look correct. Yeah,
wonder, 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 wonder. Oh, oh, oh.
I may not look like the way you want me to, nor I may not do it just like you do, but I wanna stay true to
Hey everyone, welcome to Overcomers Chapel. My name is Eniola, and here with me is
Wanu, hi.
welcome to the first edition of Gist with Winners. Today's episode we just basically addressing the issue of health. And Wanu, what do you think about health?
I think health is a very broad spectrum, and so there's a lot that goes unsaid where we think we're saying things, and then there's a part where we're only reaching the surface level of it.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And to be more specific on the issue of health, let's go into the aspect of food. What do you think about the foods we eat? In relation to being believers, Christians. Do you think like we don't cover as much of this in the church, like we don't speak more of it on the pulpit? Like, what do you think about this issue?
I definitely agree in the sense that kind of we skate the issue, right? So we talk about it, in passing in our homes and whatnot, but not necessarily in church. Like we focus very much so on the Bible, the Word, the things that I think we need to talk about versus the things that actually impact us on our day to days, like food.
Oh yeah. And speaking of the Word, the Bible actually says something about God wishes above all things that we may prosper and be in good health even as our soul prospers. I think it's in 3 John chapter 1 verse 2. And if God himself is so like interested in our well-being, and we have the part of the Bible that says our faith comes by the works, like faith is useless without your work. So it means like we have to put a work into like showing the faith we have in God to be well, to be whole, and kind of work we should put in as regards the foods we eat.
I think there just needs to be more like conscious effort of what we're putting into our body. So that goes into like researching, the types of food that we should eat. We should research our own personal calorie intake levels and what we should eat, calorie input versus output. Putting that work in to figure out what you like for yourself and like what works for you and what energizes you, and then also taking the further step to get in contact with a health professional, like someone who's like a nutritionist or a dietitian. So you have yourself and then someone along with you on that journey.
Oh yeah, I actually get that point. But in the world of today, there's like a lot of conflicting information as regards food. Some people are like, this food is good, this food is like funny thing is a specific food. I don't want to go into names right now because there's some specific foods that they will say from a part of like the internet you hear, okay, this food is like technically good, and then you hear from another professional, and funny enough sometimes it comes from professionals. So is it like why are we having this much conflict of information on regards certain types of food? Some people is like it's good, some people is like it's bad. And
I think that has a lot to do with agendas. So like there's a lot that goes into food that we're just not really aware of, and there's a way that I think people have kind of monopolized food. And when I say monopolize, I mean they've turned it into a business, right? So it's not just simple, seeding your food, growing it yourself, eating it, distributing it to your community. It's kind of now we're mass producing it in order to export and gain profit off of it, right? So if people have their own different agendas and intentions that are maybe malicious or, maybe just different intents, it kind of gets into that whole thing and makes it so that they're conflicting informations when there really should just be one voice.
And take for example the GMOs, the genetically modified organisms.
Yeah,
There's some foods that are always genetically modified. Now we have the seedless grapes. We have many seedless foods. We have tomatoes looking. I mean,
All sorts
there's
of,
all sort of tomatoes.
There was this one time I think I came across a cucumber that was like this size, like it was crazy.
And I've been seeing like a whole lot of like from Africa, because obviously I came from Africa. The banana size, it was completely
Like
different
this,
from what I saw over here. And then when we look at all these things, do you think it has like this impact in our body, on our body? I mean, and in this in turn affects our well-being in general, and this is something that we're trying to like be more conscious about, even as Christians, because our body is the temple of God, obviously. So we have to pay attention to these things going into our body. So what do you think about the GMOs, the genetically modified organisms? Like, are they technically good, or are they like wrong or something?
So there's been a lot of debate and like controversy surrounding GMO foods for a long time now. Personally, just from the research that I've done, I know there's not necessarily an inherently good or bad side to GMOs. I'm just going to put that out there. I feel like there's...
So you're saying you're in between or something?
Not necessarily in between, but I do know that there are pros and I do know that there are cons. So like, okay, so from what I found out, GMOs basically like the whole reason for them kind of was to mass produce food and figure out a way to help with farmers who were not yielding as much like produce as they usually would. So like if for like a season, right, and they wanted to grow corn, but like the corn wasn't, like being as profitable as it was supposed to be, that's where the GMO came in. And that's when they started altering DNAs to make it bigger and make it grow in like size to make it more profitable. Yeah.
So you're trying to say the first and the main purpose for GMOs was on a more commercial basis. Until now we have the different aspect of now it is actually affecting people's health. There's actually injection of chemicals and all that stuff that is bad to the health. And I think this thing we need to discuss it more in the church, because our overall health is actually very important to like everyone. And then I feel like this in turn affects a whole lot of things that we cry to God about can actually be prevented. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking like the foods we eat are one of those things that we can actually watch. Like the Bible says the faith without works is dead, right? So if you have faith that God is like the healer, God is one who takes care of us and all that, and we have to put in the work, like watching the foods we eat. So what do you consider technically like a right balance? Like for example, what did you have today?
Okay, so this morning I had an avocado toast with egg. And that might sound a little Western of me, but it's basically just mashing together some avocado, toast a couple slices of bread, spread that on there. I like my eggs sunny side up, so I fried it that way, put a little ketchup on it. That was a good breakfast.
Actually, I had just bread and tea this morning, because I mean that's kind of what I consider my morning, my morning kind of food.
But how does that make you feel though?
Actually, I just like in the morning I actually kind of feel I just want something to keep me like alert. So that's kind of the thing that gives me that kind of the vibe or something, like just gets me something that can get me just activated for the day ahead of me. And speaking about the kind of food you eat, right? There's this opinion that we are not supposed to eat according to how the stomach dictates and all that stuff. But how do we find the balance between being healthy and actually filling up our bellies? Because I'm actually eating to get filled. I actually don't care if it's the technically heavy foods or the technically light food. When I'm eating, like the first goal is to be fed, right? Obviously, we all want to be satisfied. At the same time, still remain healthy.
So I think the very first point I want to bring up on that is that health and your food is a very much so a relationship, right? So you and your food that you eat, the food that we eat supplements us, and it's like what brings us energy. So of course we have to have a healthy and good relationship with it. So that goes into I think what you're mentioning about overeating possibly. And so I personally think that there should be portion sizes, right? But you should also listen to your body at the same time. So it's listening to your body, taking that personal journey, and then also just knowing that there should be a little bit of a limit to what you're eating.
Well, I actually agree with you on that. But the only thing is just that whenever I eat, sometimes I actually just something that we call cravings, right? How do we like take care of issues like that? Because sometimes you just crave. Some people say they have sweet tooth. I don't know. That's like it's a thing now. Some people be like, oh, I just feel like I need to have like ice cream. I need to have chocolates in between the day. And how do we like modify all those things into our diet and at the same time still be under what is considered healthy?
I just want to put a disclaimer that I'm no expert on
Oh,
these
obviously,
topics.
yeah,
Obviously
none of us
not.
is.
Most of what I'm saying is from my own personal research. But I think when it comes to things like sweet tooths and cravings and whatnot, I think it has to do with an imbalance of like the food groups that we eat. So there's carbs, there's fats, there's proteins. I'm pretty sure there's something else, but I don't remember right now. And so like when one like kind of lacks or falls behind is when we start having cravings. So like if there's a lack of protein in your diet, then you start craving a little bit more sweet tooth and maybe a salty, stuff like that. So it's when you're not eating those like key food groups in balance is when you start to feel like you need certain things like craving does.
Well, to our viewers at home, we are actually not coming against the foods you eat, but we just wanted to have adequate information about the things you put in your body because obviously as much as you want to be healthy or God is involved in our well-being, we also want to put in the work. We also want to like pay attention to those foods, and we just want to hear from you. We want to know like your feedback. We want to know if you have any personal experiences. Even if anyone watching us, if you're an expert in this area, please feel free to give us your take on this issue because I feel like as Christians we have to like with our prayers, with our faith, we have to put in our own input on how to be healthy by ourselves. And I think with that also, I think we can go to the part that there's this part of the Bible that actually says our body is the temple of God.
Yeah,
and then we serve God with our bodies. So do you think like when we are being unhealthy, are we like sinning against God or something?
So I'm not too well versed in the Bible, so I think maybe based on what you're saying, that could be true. So, like we're kind of made in God's image. So when we're doing things that kind of hurt His image, maybe we are being a little sinful.
Oh yeah. So you just heard that, everyone. When you're eating, you're not eating like for yourself. Eating is even like a part of worshiping God. So I mean, we actually have to be interested in the food we eat as a way of being healthy, and we also have to be interested in the food we eat, even as a way of worshiping God. I mean, don't that sound like fantastic, right? So on our next show, we're going to be coming with a professional who's going to give us, the professional aspects of this issue, so we can get enough information about the issue of health, and food in relation to health, and even as Christians and believers in Christ. So we hope you stay tuned. We hope you subscribe, you like, and you share this video with your friends. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have like a different opinion, if you have any personal experience, just whatever it is that you think on as regards this issue. Just please feel free to leave us a feedback. And what are your final thoughts on this?
So like I said before, we're no health experts on this, so it's not like we know definitively exactly what we're talking about. But definitely, be more conscientious about the foods that you eat. Put an effort to pick and be intentional about what you're putting into your body, because like Annie said, kind of what you eat is kind of representative of God. I'm
still your host, Eniola, and my co-host with me is
Wanu.
And until we see you next time, remain blessed. Bye.
But I wanna stay true to the kingdom, be relevant and be a true Christian. I wanna feed the poor, the widows and the orphans, be a light in the middle of the darkness, so they see my good works and glorify God in heaven. Hey, I have no time to sit and talk about no one's sin, unless it's with the one I'm going to be helping.